Hey guys, Melinda Ricchetti here. Welcome to another Right Way Wednesday. Today I'm here with Seth Johns. He's a physical therapist from Grace Presbyterian Village, one of our CCRCs in Dallas, Texas. And today we're here to talk about point of service documentation. Thank you so much for joining us
No
today,
problem, no problem.
So tell us a little bit about you and when you came to Grace.
Okay, I've been at Grace Presbyterian Village for about 3 years now, and I came from another skilled nursing. And since February, Health Pro has taken over our contract. We were in-house before, and love it here.
Good. And prior to Health Pro coming in, what were you documenting on? Were you using laptops, iPads?
We were using laptops only. We did have some desktops, but didn't typically use those.
Okay.
And we were using Rehab Optima
Great.
for our documentation system.
So now the team here at Grace is utilizing mostly iPads. There are some laptops that are floating around. And then we're obviously on HealthMax here. And we've encouraged this team to do some point of service documentation with their patients. So tell us a little bit about your experience with point of service documentation.
My experiences is, it's been great. It's really, really helpful, especially in those days that, you're just super busy. You're trying to get the patient involved, but also just get your documentation done and get everything, accomplished. But it's also nice. I was kind of speaking with some coworkers today and explaining exactly, being able to include your patient in your documentation and your plan of care and all of your goals that you have for them, and kind of giving them that whole entire feel of exactly what your goals are and what their goals are, so that you can kind of be on the same page.
Sure. So you mentioned the evaluation. Are there specific parts of the evaluation that you find are better for point of service documentation? Are you able to kind of engage that patient throughout the whole time?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the interview process is much easier on point of service documentation. There's a lot of times that I'll be busy with hands-on and getting the interview at the same time, and not necessarily document everything if I go back in time.
Sure.
So I really I enjoy using it in the interview so that I can make sure and get every single bit of prior level of function, what kind of care they were receiving, if they were at all, all of that, so that I can get a good picture of exactly what it is that I need to work on and, that they want to work on as far as meeting their goals and getting them home.
Sure. That brings up a good point. Back years ago when I was treating, I always left my documentation to the end of the day, and I often had a hard time remembering, okay, was that patient the one that had the caregiver support at home or not?
Right.
So it's nice when you do it right on.
Yeah, especially, this is a building that we have a lot of evaluations, and a lot of times I'll have 2 or 3 evaluations in a day. So it does kind of start all running together at the end of the day. So if I can have like those cues, at least for me on the eval where I've already typed some things in, I'm like, oh yeah, this was the patient that XYZ.
Got it.
So it really helps me. Yeah.
Good. What about with daily treatment notes? Are you able to use point of service documentation just during your treatments day to day?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely use it as far as doing any kind of activities. As long as it's a patient that I don't have to have a whole lot of hands-on, I'll pop it open and I'll have interaction with the patient while I'm documenting. A lot of times, we'll get to the end of the day and we'll think, well, what did I use, ankle weights, or did I, you kind of start having people run together, and I find it's just a lot more accurate.
Sure.
And also, you can get the patient involved in what you're doing and why you're doing it, and kind of explaining each level of what you're doing.
Good. When I talk about point of service documentation to a lot of the therapists out there, they have some challenges and frustration. Do any of your patients ever feel like they're being ignored when you're on? I know we go to doctor's office and they're on their laptop typing away, and what are your suggestions to the field about that?
I think that, I've personally never had a patient that told me they felt like they were ignored. I think that it's one of those things that, if you utilize it as just a tool, as opposed to like exception of the rule, you can sit there and kind of type a little bit, come back to it, back and forth. And we spend so much time with our patients. I wouldn't advise anybody to sit there for 45 minutes or even 30 minutes and just sit there typing.
Right.
Because obviously that's not a very skilled session. But, I think that it's something you can definitely set up. You can type a little bit, come back to. So I've never had a problem with multitasking, doing it at the same time, or, even while a patient was resting or whatever.
Good. What about HealthMax? Do you ever lose data? You leave it open, you walk away, and it's gone?
Occasionally there's been an instance, but usually it's user error. It's been my fault. I didn't save, or I didn't, push the right button or whatever, and so it's usually been my fault. But very rarely do I ever have a problem with, something going down and never coming back.
Good, good. Well, do you have any other tips for the therapists out there with using point of service documentation?
You know, I really think that the best part about doing this is just making sure that you're keeping your patient involved in what you have to say for them and what you're monitoring and putting down as their goals and things like that, because a lot of times we get separated on the communication. You know your patient's goal is to go home and walk, but they need to know what your goals are too, because that helps them feel like they're being achieved and making their goals for you as well as themselves.
Makes them really part of that plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us and talking about point of service documentation.
No
I really
problem.
appreciate it.
No problem at all.
Thanks you guys for watching. Join us again next week for another Right Way Wednesday. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.